So based on some of the dialogue we've already had, we're talking about the nature of Christ. You would say that in Christ is a blending of the human nature and a divine nature? Is that somehow blended together? Is that an accurate assessment of what you just summarized?
Latter-day Saints have a different understanding of deity in that sense. So you believe God is spirit, right?
Yes.
The Father does not have a physical body, correct?
Yeah, we would not say the Father has
So
a
he
physical
would be
body.
physically distinct from the Son because the Son does have a body of flesh and bone.
Yes.
Okay, so there's two physically distinct beings.
Yeah, I would say yes, but I would agree on under the pretense that we are not blending the divine nature in Jesus with his human nature. We would say these
Which he
natures.
no longer has.
So he no longer has a divine nature.
Well, he no longer has a human nature because he's not human.
So
He's
he's not human.
immortal. Do you believe he's still human?
Well, so
Like he's
okay,
still immortal. I'm
so when it's
immortal. I'm going to die and
yeah.
I'm subject to death.
So when it says in 1 Corinthians 15 that he was risen from the dead, is that
Right.
not a human body?
Well, we're created in God's image, so the bodies that we have reflect the dimensions of
So it's
his.
a human. So is 1 Corinthians like verse 4 or 3? I forget. 15 verse 4 or 3. Was it Jesus Christ was risen on the third day? Is that a physical body or not?
Well, it's a different body. It's an incorruptible body. It's a body that is not like our mortal corruptible bodies. If you keep reading down in the passages, because there are earthly bodies and there are
Yeah,
heavenly bodies.
it says
His body is a heavenly body.
it
It's
says
not an
flesh
earthly
cannot
body,
enter the kingdom of God.
right?
Yes, but I'm asking
And
you,
and
did Jesus
and
have a
Jesus is,
physical body in the
yeah, he
resurrection?
has a physical body. Yeah, he has a physical
So
body
at
of
what
flesh and bone,
so at
but it's
what
not
point?
like ours. I mean, you couldn't stab Jesus and hurt him. No, you couldn't cut him and have him bleed. You couldn't physically hurt Jesus at all. He has a glorified, perfected, immortal body. You can't break his bones. You can't, right? And his body has distinct characteristics that are physically different than our bodies. So, for example, apparently he can disappear and reappear in a room and still have a body of flesh and bone.
But that's not human though.
No, I can't do that. Can you?
Well, no, obviously, because in
And I guess by
uh,
human, you're saying looks like a human.
well, I would
So
say
does he
so.
have a nose and a mouth? Yeah, if that's human, then yes, he has ears and eyes and nose and mouth and toes and fingers. Yeah, sure. But he's not a mortal.
So wait, he's not immortal.
He's not a mortal, not
Oh,
immortal. He
sorry,
is
I thought you said he's not
immortal.
immortal. We're just like that's confusing based on what
Yeah,
you
that
just
was
said.
Paul's whole point is that Christ
Yeah,
dieth no more, death hath no more dominion over him, which means his physical body is incapable of death.
yeah. So it is distinct from human body.
Neither will his spirit or body ever separate, because that would be death.
Yeah, no. So like I said, that would be distinct from the human body in a sinful under the curse. But it's not. It's you would say it's not a human body. So you would say to be human is to necessarily be under the curse. Am I
No, I would
understanding
say
that?
no. So by human, right? I'm saying like mine. His body's not like mine.
Because it's no longer under the curse of sin. Is that correct?
I don't believe in original sin, so I believe that we're the curse is the fact that we're all
Well,
going to die.
I don't really think this has anything to do with the original sin, but the point is, so when I mean maybe
Our
there is.
understanding of the curse is different. So before we go down that rabbit trail, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
I guess
Jesus being under the curse.
so.
I don't know what that means in your context.
So
So
what that
I
means
couldn't say
is
yes or no to that.
so what
And
that means is
it doesn't really matter because Jesus's
I think
body.
I think it does matter on this point because before Adam fell, there was no indication that his body could be injured. But what says after he fell, it says you will surely die. That is in physical flesh. So you will die physically. So Jesus can no longer die, but he does not cease to be a human. He just has a glorified body, but it's still a
Okay.
human body.
All right. So if you read Genesis more carefully, so Adam and Eve are in the garden. They have access to all the trees. There's only one tree they're not allowed to eat. One of the trees that they're allowed to eat, in fact commanded to eat, is the tree of life. After they ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, God withholds from them access to the tree of life. It's by not eating the tree of life, it appears in the texts, that they end up being mortal and dying. That doesn't mean their bodies weren't capable of death prior to eating the tree of the fruit of the knowledge of the good and evil.
Yeah,
See,
but the problem
that's the problem
not,
is that both of us would be required to infer things the text does not clarify. We have no idea what his body was like.
yeah. The problem
and he
is
was given a tree that actually granted, I guess, immortality in some way. And we don't know that he wasn't freely eating from it prior, because sometimes we assume that eating the tree of life
the
at
problem with
one
that is
time
the tree doesn't give
bestows
immortality.
eternal. What?
The tree was not given immortality. That was what the serpent said to Adam. It was a deception.
What
It
was
was
the deception?
well, the serpent said, if you eat of this tree, you will be like God.
Right,
It's
which is true.
suggesting that
It's not a deception.
it was a deception, though.
No, it's specifically true. It says it specifically, I think, in verse 23. If you read down chapter 3, verse 23, it says specifically, the man has become as one of us to know good and evil. And the serpent said that you will be like gods, knowing good and evil. So
Yeah,
specifically, the serpent says something, and God confirms that that actually happened.
yeah.
Well, that's what the verses say. We can read them if you want.
Yeah. The problem is that Adam before the fall had a flesh that could not die. And that was part of the promise that God gave Adam. He said, if you eat of this tree, you will surely die.
Right.
And he did.
Which begs the question of why was there a tree of life?
I think the question of why is more of a philosophical question, because the text
it's not a, well the text is supposed to make you think. All of the questions are philosophical questions, because the Genesis chapters 1 and 2 are intentionally ambiguous because they're supposed to make the reader think. There's no clear answers to many of these questions. There's just questions. So, for example, we could sit and debate all day about whether or not Adam's body was in some way capable of death prior to eating the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And there's no way to clarify that, because there was, in fact, a tree of life, and we don't know that they weren't freely eating from it prior to the tree of knowledge.
The issue is that when God created Adam, it was really good. I don't think there's any suggestion that there is any capability of Adam dying. But
it couldn't have been really good, because Adam and Eve did not know good.
No, but good in an objective moral sense is that it was a good creation.
Good in the sense that it was complete.
I just disagree.
Yeah.
Well, you can disagree. That's what I'm saying. There's no clear answer in Genesis that way.
Yeah, okay. I guess my point in referencing 1 Corinthians 15 is to say that where we disagree is we would claim that Jesus Christ continues to have a human body after the resurrection, and you would say he does not have a human body.
No, I've clarified that about 4 times. If by human you mean looking like a person, yes, if that's your understanding of human. But by human, I'm a human. I am going to die.
The difference is he has a created body. That is, he is not God. Creation versus creature versus creator. That distinction, that he has a created material body as human.
Right. Well, it's organized and formed. Yeah.
Yeah. So you would agree that he is still creation after the resurrection?
He's still a creation. No.
So he's not creation after the resurrection?
No, he doesn't fundamentally become a different thing after the resurrection, simply because the physical body that he possesses was organized. And because, let me ask you this, what's it made out of?
It's made out of bones and muscles and blood.
Well, it can't be blood, because flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of heaven. And Luke chapter 24 only states that it's flesh and bone. There's no indication that his body has blood or that it bleeds. I don't know what it's made out of. It's not made out of hydrogen and carbon and
so you don't
materials
think
like that. What?
You don't think it's made out of any sort of physical
I have no
matter?
idea what it's made out of. That's what I'm saying. Is anything you're speculating, and I'm just saying there's no reason to speculate on that because I don't know what it's made out of. Like I said, what it does have is it does have properties. Well, first of all, he didn't look like himself because the apostles didn't recognize him. Secondly, he was able to appear and reappear and disappear in a room without going through the door. But he was able to eat. That's about all you can figure out from it. You could physically touch him because they did. He had scars, so he didn't completely fix the body up, but it looked different enough that they didn't recognize him. Mary also didn't recognize him, and John. So something's different about his body. What that is, I don't know. Maybe it glowed. Who knows? Because they thought that they had seen a spirit. So their understanding of spirits is that they look like human beings. So Jesus looked like a human being in the sense that he looked like us, but we're created in his image. We get that from Ether chapter 3 and others. So
I don't want to misrepresent anything that you say. So I just want to summarize. So you would say that when Jesus Christ rises from the dead, he has some other sort of material, physical form, but we can't say exactly what that is.
Well, he has a physical body of flesh and bone. I don't know what that means.
Okay, so
I can assume
you can
assume it's like ours, but it also can't die because it's incorruptible. It is different in some way. It looked different. It physically had different properties. That's all. There's facts in the scriptures that you can draw from. Prophets say he appears in glory.
What I said, that was an accurate assessment of, or an accurate summary of what you're saying. So I'm not trying to debate or anything.
No,
I just
I'm
want to
not
understand.
saying. Yeah, I'm not. Could it be made out of the same carbon and stuff as our bodies? Sure. I don't know. I have no idea what it's made out of. It's made out of matter, whatever it is.
It's some sort of
matter.
Physical created matter.
Yeah, but we know that from modern revelation. Because
Okay.
all things are matter.
So yeah. So I guess that would get back to where I was trying to understand is that you would say that there is some sort of blending of the divine in this resurrected form, some sort of blending of matter and the divine nature together.
All right.
How do you describe it?
Jesus, premortally, before he was born to this planet, Jesus was a. Hold on a second. Computer's dying. It wasn't plugged in. So Jesus had a body of spirit, and then he put that spirit inside of a mortal body. You can believe whatever you want about what that means, but that's what we know happened. So prior to being born of Mary, he was a spirit. Spirits look like us. They have toes and fingers, and they look like human beings. Okay. And then he takes that spirit, sticks it inside of a physical body. Then he dies, his spirit separates from that physical body, and then he takes that body in some way, changes it, and sticks his spirit back inside of it. And you can, whatever that means, only it will never die again. Whatever body that is beyond death. It's not capable of death, and apparently it has other supernatural properties because he manifests some of those. And what all that means, I haven't got any idea.